I'm 82 years old now, and there's something I don't say easily because it sounds wrong when you first hear it. I regret avoiding risk more than I regret my failures. That sentence took me a long time to admit. Most of my life, I thought I was doing the right thing by being careful, by staying steady, by not rocking the boat. From where I'm sitting now, with more years behind me than ahead, I can see how much of my life was shaped not by what I tried and failed at, but by what I never tried at all. I'm not telling this because I want understanding. I'm telling it because time has narrowed, and honesty feels heavier when you don't have much of it left. These days, my mornings are quiet. I wake up earlier than I need to. I sit at the kitchen table longer than I should. Sometimes I stare at nothing in particular and feel the weight of years press down in small, ordinary ways. The strange thing about getting old is that the noise fades, the urgency disappears, and what's left is clarity you didn't ask for. I look back now and realize how much effort I put into staying safe, not physically, emotionally, professionally, socially. I built a life that was solid, predictable, respected even, and I mistook that for a life that was full. In my 20s, I was already cautious. I didn't see it that way then. I called it responsibility. I had a steady job, one my parents approved of. It paid the bills. It didn't excite me, but it didn't scare me either. I remember being offered another position once. It was riskier, less money at first, no guarantees. I remember holding the letter in my hands, reading it twice, then folding it neatly and putting it away. I told myself I couldn't gamble my future on uncertainty. That's how it always sounded in my head, reasonable, mature. I stayed where I was. I stayed many times after that. When friends talked about starting businesses, moving cities, chasing ideas that might fail, I listened politely. I nodded. I warned them to be careful. Some of them failed, some of them didn't, but all of them lived inside their choices in a way I never quite did. I married young. She was kind, practical. She liked that I was dependable. We built a routine quickly. Work, dinner, weekends that blurred together. There were moments when she wanted more from me, more presence, more conversation, more courage, though she never used that word. I often chose the path that kept things calm. If a conversation felt uncomfortable, I postponed it. If a decision felt risky, I delayed it. If a dream felt uncertain, I minimized it. I told myself there would be time later. That phrase followed me everywhere. Later, when things settle, when it's safer, when the kids are older, when work is less demanding. Later became my favorite word. Years passed quietly that way. No disasters, no dramatic collapses, just small moments slipping by. I missed chances to speak honestly because I didn't want conflict. I missed chances to change direction because I didn't want instability. I missed chances to show up fully because I didn't want discomfort. At the time, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like control. But control has a cost you don't see until much later. My children grew up with a father who was present in body, but careful in spirit. I attended the important events. I paid for what needed paying for. But I rarely took emotional risks with them. I didn't share uncertainty. I didn't share fear. I didn't share longing. I thought that was strength. I thought protecting them meant being steady, not vulnerable. Looking back now, I can see how distance forms not from neglect, but from silence, from always choosing the safe response, from never stepping into the unknown together. In my 40s, I felt the first quiet dissatisfaction, not loud enough to scare me, just enough to notice. I would sit in my car after work sometimes, engine off, hands on the steering wheel, and feel a strange heaviness. Not sadness exactly, more like something unfinished. I told myself this was normal, that this was what adulthood felt like, that wanting more was childish, so I stayed. I stayed in the job that never fit me. I stayed in conversations that never went deep. I stayed in habits that kept me busy but not alive. I avoided risk with great discipline, and people praised me for it. "You're smart," they said. "You're sensible. You've built something stable." I nodded. I agreed. Inside, something slowly went quiet. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It accumulated. A conversation not had, a trip not taken, an idea dismissed before it could grow. I didn't feel regret then. Regret comes later when you finally stop moving. The turning point didn't come with fireworks. It came with a hospital room. My wife was ill. Not suddenly, gradually. We sat side by side, the way we always had, calm, polite, careful. One afternoon she looked at me and said very softly, "I wish we had been braver." I didn't know what to say. I still don't know if I ever answered her properly. She passed not long after. Grief does something strange. It strips away the stories you've told yourself and leaves only facts. The fact was this: I had avoided risk for decades to protect a life that no longer existed. That was the moment clarity arrived, not as panic, as stillness. I saw my life laid out not by what went wrong, but by what never happened. I saw how many decisions were made out of fear wearing the mask of wisdom, how often I chose certainty over meaning, how often I chose approval over truth. There are things that cannot be fixed once you see them clearly. You can't go back and take the chance you declined at 30. You can't reopen conversations you avoided for years. You can't become the version of yourself that only exists in imagination. I carry those losses quietly now. They're not dramatic. They don't ask for attention. They sit with me in the evenings, in the pauses between thoughts. I don't regret the times I failed. Those taught me something. They shaped me. I regret the times I didn't try because I was afraid of losing what I had. What I didn't understand then was this: you lose things anyway. Time takes them. Change takes them. Life takes them. Avoiding risk doesn't stop loss. It just changes its shape. If you're listening to this, I won't tell you what to do. I don't have instructions to offer. I can only tell you what I wish I had known. Safety feels comforting in the moment, but over a lifetime, it can hollow you out. Not every risk is reckless, not every failure is ruin, and not every safe choice is kind to your future self. Ask yourself quietly what you keep postponing, what you keep telling yourself you'll do later. Later is fragile. Later is not promised. I'm not angry with the man I was. He did what he thought was right. But I wish he had been a little braver. Not louder, not wilder, just braver enough to step into uncertainty when it mattered. My days are slower now. I accept that. I find gratitude where I can, and sorrow where it belongs. If this story stays with you, even briefly, that's enough. I didn't tell it to inspire. I told it because it's true. And truth, at this age, feels like the last useful thing I have left to give.